We will start today's Island Lake Board. Thank you for showing up at Wednesday, April 10th, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
First, we'll call the meeting to order, and before we go into it all, we have a new member here today. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Jack Puskas. I'm an engineer at the Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner's Office.
Great.
Nice to meet you all. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining. JC had to do a lot with us, so it's nice that you guys have all spread it out now. It's good to see some faces. So, thank you for joining us. So first we have reviewing of the posted meeting notices, and we have Tom Hayes here today.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
Would help if the microphones are on. But meeting notices for the business meeting need to be posted 18 hours before the start of the meeting, and they were posted on Monday, April 1st, so we're in compliance with the Open Meetings Act.
And next we have public comment. Would anybody from the public like to come up to the podium and speak? Come on.
I'm here?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Satish Tamala, Island Lake, live on Island Lane. And basically, I think that this is, we're talking with regards to the DNR regulation, I assume.
Anything
Okay.
you want.
So I think that was our main, my main purpose for being here. Just wanted to be vocal about the fact that I think overall we've achieved something that we tried to achieve, which is the slow, no wake contention that we have on the lakes. It was, safety was a factor. I'm kind of in the boat that, no pun intended, I'm kind of in the boat that I don't know if vessel type or vessel combustion type is really relevant in the long term, because I think that generally speaking, 99%, over 99% of the riparians on our lake and Lower Long Lake and Forest Lake have electric vessels. I can't see them switching because there's now technically a gas engine allowance. I think it's quite cumbersome and expensive to do so. And I think the only 2 or 3 riparians that do have gas outboards, I think they also have electric outboards on their vessels. So, but the issue of the lower or the Upper Long Lake riparians coming over to the Lower Long Lake will create a kind of a population issue, because the tranquil waters of these lakes, Island Lake included, we have a lot of swimmers, people that fish, and they're not used to kind of looking around and making sure they're not getting run over by a jet ski and stuff like that. So that's going to be relevant. I think we'll have to somehow maybe educate some of the riparians, maybe through a newsletter, that, hey, maybe we should have some designated swimming areas if it becomes an issue on particularly Lower Long Lake. I don't know what it'll do for, with that kind of population increase, if it happens, if it does anything to the shoreline erosion, it's possible. But I was told today by a friend of mine that lives on Lower Long Lake that the channel between the 2 lakes, upper and lower, is, the water levels are quite low and have been quite low, and it's pretty difficult to go from one to the other easily. You really have to try, you have to be real careful, a lot of muck, a lot of weeds. You got to be careful with your motor. So I don't think we'll see a lot of people coming over. And for ski boats, it's almost impossible because they have a very deep hull, inboard, outboard. He said it's almost impossible to get through because you're going to hit the bottom of your boat. So I think the only people we'll see coming over is going to be kind of pontoons. It's kind of the same kind of vessels that are already on Lower Long Lake. So I think it's just a matter of safety with regards to people swimming. How do we designate those areas? And then lastly, enforcement. I think that's the most important, because if people are just kind of flying, a jet ski can get through with no problem. So if a kid comes through the jet ski, he just whips around and leaves, even Island Lake, you can just go to the boat launch and just launch one, and it's a good sized lake to do that. They can whip around for 10 minutes and leave, and what's a $70 fine to them or whatever? They'll just pay it, and that was the price of admission. So hopefully we come to something. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak for public comment? Okay, I'll close public comment. Next, we'll go to the meeting minutes of June 20th. Unless we have any changes or suggestions, I'd look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Wright Perrin Greenberg, support by Clerk
Okay.
Commissioner Gershenson. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That does pass. And next, we have reviewing of the 2023 lake maintenance. Ned, do you want to do that?
Well, I can just say that the total amount for, you want to scroll down? Were we going to have the people from Lake Pro here? Is that not something that they ordinarily do?
They won't be here today.
They will or won't?
didn't-
They won't.
They didn't come to any of the others so far.
No,
Really?
they haven't.
Oh, that's part of our contract, that they're supposed to.
I'm used to
Did-
seeing them doing the report, but did not show up to any of them today.
Fantastic. I'm going to be talking to them.
Okay.
Especially since I just saved
They
them
were invited,
$4,500 not that long. They were invited. You're certain that
They
they
were
got their
invited.
invitation?
I
Okay,
didn't,
well,
I
Oh.
didn't tell them that there was a meeting. I just
did or
included
didn't?
the report.
Oh, okay. Then you.
okay, in the
what-
future, we should have
Yeah,
them
they're
come
usually
here and
here.
speak to the lakes. That is something that is contractually a requirement of theirs to do. So I was not expecting to do that. I can tell you that, you know, in the summation, they always say that the lake quality is excellent. Again, this year it was excellent. We had, as we always do, a little bit of turbidity in the early season, which clears up as the season goes on. We did something unique this year, was we tried a small area with a new type of systemic herbicide to knock back the milfoil. It did knock back the milfoil there, but we didn't have a bad milfoil season elsewhere in the lake either. So unless that becomes a problem, we're not, and it's very expensive. We're looking at a whole lake treatment would basically wipe out our reserve. So for now, we're, you know, and I talked to others, and we're not really wanting to spend that money now unless we have a real milfoil problem. We don't have it right now, so the experiment worked, but we're not going to go forward with a continuing treatment. Other than that, it was a very good year on the lake. I mean, there was a lot of, you know, crystal clear blue water and not a lot of algae. And I mean, I want to pat myself on the back, but it's really a series of luck. I mean, some years it works, and other years you do the exact same thing, and it's terrible. So, but we had a great year. Hopefully another one will be just like it this year.
That's good. All right, thanks. So next we have confirming the expenditures since last review of June 16th through April 4th. Tom?
These are invoices that the Lake Board needs to approve at every meeting. The last time the Lake Board approved invoices was back on June 20th, so this is since then. Typically, invoices come into the office, they're reviewed against the contracts and the budgets. They're signed off by the riparian and the clerk, and there's nothing out of the ordinary with what is presented.
Unless there's any questions or changes or comments, I'd look for a motion to confirm. Motion by Commissioner Garrison, support by Jack, is it who?
Puskas.
Puskas. I will get better. And all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That does pass. Next we
Is
have,
there a support?
yes,
Oh, okay.
from Jack Puskas. And next we have review the 2023 revenues, expenses, and fund balance report.
That's the new document I have.
Yes, so just the reason for some of the changes there was just that we found that there were some charges that had not actually been submitted just a few weeks ago, and we contacted Lake Pro and they submitted them. So that's why there was a last minute change in amounts that now with the handwritten numbers shows you the actual numbers. I guess it's not on that, but the total amount of expenditures was $71,591, which instead of having a balance addition of $6,000, it was really $1,574. So the reserve at the end of the year was $50,489.63. We expect, well, I guess I'll go over the budget when we go over it. We really always put in a $5,000 kind of cushion for unexpected charges. We had it in the past where we had some algae that we had to have tested and treated. That it was a blue-green algae. Turned out, after we treated it all, we found out it was not the type that caused any type of problem, but you don't know that right until you get the results back and you act quickly to make sure. But this year this last year there was nothing, so we didn't expend any of those dollars, and so we performed a little better than we were expecting on budget.
Okay. So do we need to approve by amending this one as well?
Well, this one is dated as a 3/6, which is the information we had. There's not a current one. And what will
Okay.
happen is there'll be an end of the year one done when the budgets are finally reconciled.
Okay.
So
Next month.
next month.
Okay, so it's okay to confirm
Right.
based on that. Okay, great.
Well, we're just reviewing it.
Oh, okay, that's true. This one doesn't need a motion. Thank you. Gotta keep up with which ones do.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot.
All right, next we have review and certify the delinquent assessors, 2023 assessments to the assessor.
So in the packet is a list of delinquent accounts that was prepared last fall by the treasurer's office. This item is handled administratively, but it still needs to be brought before the Lake Board at its earliest meeting the following year for confirmation.
So unless we have any questions, comments, or changes, I'd look for a motion to certify. Motion by Commissioner, almost called you Garrison, Gershenson, and support by Jack Puskas. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That does pass. Next, we have considering adoption of the 2024 budget.
All right, well, I'll now, yes, again, turn to the, that column. The one thing I will point out, and it's not reflected up there, but it is on the handwritten notes, our starting fund balance is $50,489.63. We are expecting expenditures totaling $81,500. Again, that includes the $5,000 kind of extra that we put in there in case of emergency. The increase in business operations expense, we're going to need to be doing our next year, our hearing for the assessment. And so we expect the amounts to go up for that. Otherwise, it really is just, some of the stuff maintained in price, like the weed harvesting is not going up year over year. I was going to talk to Paul, if he were here, and tell him I'm expecting that not to go up year over year either, their expenses, but we'll see. With that, we expect to have a deficit because it's the last year of the assessment level that we had while we have increasing expenses. So we'll probably, then get to be talking about a deficit drawing down a little bit. We'll have to address that with the following year's assessment, or the 4-year assessment. But so there you have the budget with an expected ending fund balance at the end of next year of $42,176 dollars. So that would be a projected loss of about $8,000. If we don't use that $5,000 slot money, then it would really more be like a loss of $3,000. That's the budget projection.
Do you have any questions or comments? Not, I'd look for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget as presented and revise it with the handwritten notes, and to remove the names of the vendors, and authorize the the chair to execute contracts consistent with the budget, subject to legal review and review by the supervisor.
Do we have support? Support by Commissioner Gershenson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That does pass. Do we have any new business in addition? No, do you have any from the riparian side?
Well, just some of the echoed responses of what Satish said is that we now have a new ordinance. We are concerned probably most primarily in enforcement, and I understand that's something that's still under consideration. I don't know if there is any clear plan to create an enhancement in the penalties for violations, or if it's just going to be a standard misdemeanor process if someone violates it. So I guess we would want to know that. In addition, we're happy to hear that the township is going to be helping with signage, with the creation of the needed signage for the ordinance. It doesn't, it's not enforceable unless you have adequate signage. And so that would be with the production, and I believe placement, that you're going to be doing the installation. So that's terrific. I'd say thank you very much. And we expect to work with you to make sure that it's adequately, signed so that it's enforceable.
Great. And just a sort of a quick response / update. The board met on Monday. The sense of the board was unanimously to adopt the proposed ordinance that the DNR sent, which is not the ordinance we asked for. But we can adopt that and also continue to pursue the internal combustion engine issue. And the board will decide at a future meeting, perhaps the next meeting, whether or not we adopt and appeal, or if we adopt and pursue a subsequent petition in the future, perhaps based on support that we receive or evidence we received during this summer's voting season. But we have the time to adopt, which requires 2 board meetings and 2 publications, and get this done prior to the end of May. Signage in place at the boat launches, which will require the cooperation of the HOAs that own the properties. But we would produce the signs with legal support, install the signs
Great.
at township expense. And you mentioned the penalty, the DNR, which controls the lakes and only allows us to regulate it with their permission, which is what they've given for a no-wake, slow no-wake only requirement. It also indicates that we cannot add anything else. We have to adopt their proposed ordinance language with no revisions or additions or changes whatsoever. What that means is, and you alluded to it, that there is no penalty provision other than the general penalty provision in the ordinance, which means it's to violate the slow no wake rule as a misdemeanor. It was considered a civil infraction before with a financial penalty, but based on the permissions authorized by the DNR, that'll change to a misdemeanor. And I think those are the key items.
So there will be no financial penalty, or how does the misdemeanor work?
A misdemeanor is punishable by either, jail time or probation. It can also be by fine, and typically is for this type of an offense.
Are the fines less than the civil, by going down?
The maximum penalty would be $500 for the misdemeanor offense at a township misdemeanor.
And a year in prison, of course.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
Even if there's a repeat offender, the judge could add an injunction. Or
Yeah, there's, obviously
penalty
there's,
could get quite stiff.
anyway,
Is it,
I'm not, I think it's a $500 maximum by statute for misdemeanor offenses, but
so for each one, it's up to 500? Even
Yes.
so each time they repeat it, it doesn't escalate?
But as a misdemeanor offense, it is technically punishable with jail time, so if you've
Then they
got
could
somebody
end jail.
that's getting a ticket every other day,
Okay.
maybe they'd be doing a week something.
Okay.
And what we do remind everyone is that our police do not have boats because we do not have public lakes. So for those that want actual police on the lakes, the Oakland County Sheriff's Department does offer it. I know some that already do that, like Square Lake, because they are in all sports, but they do it on holiday weekends when they're more worried about others coming onto their lake. So that is something that others, I don't know what the rate was. It was a lot less than we thought it would be.
$48 an hour.
Yeah, so on like a July 4th or something like that, you don't have to have them out there all the time, but if you start noticing there's certain days that you're having trouble and you want someone on that lake, the Oakland County Sheriff's does offer that.
So I guess I would also ask for further advice from the township as to what would constitute sufficient evidence
That's
of
what they're working
violation.
on. That's what they're working on. Can they accept, because there's certain things they can and can't legally accept based on proof of when the video wasn't edited, and
Yeah, I mean,
that's what we're working on.
it's a matter of what's admissible
Right.
at the hearing, but,
Precisely.
or at trial with a misdemeanor. There is a statutory definition for slow no wake, so, I mean, as to what the evidence needs to show, that's pretty much established by the statute, but like everything else, it's a matter of proof. How do you prove it?
And
Right,
it's new
right.
to us, so the police chief is kind of working on how would we, as not the ones on the lake, be able to help help the sheriffs when you're not having them there.
Right, like is a riparian's photograph
Right.
of the, that shows the
Does it have to be
vessel
timed?
number and the, yeah.
Right.
I would suggest that we leave those specifics up to each individual occurrence rather than have a
Right,
discussion of it now.
we're not gonna decide it now at all.
Right,
The
right.
police chief
Well,
will, but
well,
what I'm
let's-
saying
let's-
is we're working on
Let's
it
leave
because
that
it's brand
discussion,
new.
let's leave
I
that
just wanna-
discussion for the enforcement
Yeah, I just wanna
officers.
make sure y'all know, we don't have a police boat, so there will not be a way to hire our staff to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But Oakland County Sheriff's Office are used to patrolling lakes, and they do have the staff and the ability to
Well,
actually have somebody.
If it's something you're interested in, the sooner you make that known, because we don't have unlimited staff.
Right, yeah, you have to pick, you first come, first serve on the dates, yeah, right.
Well, we have contracts with several lakes, so.
Correct, yeah, through those contracts. They specifically list out what dates on those contracts, because we have to sign on those. But that's just to let you know to reach out about that if you're interested.
Sign have the definition, the slow, no wait.
We haven't written the sign yet. I mean, it's.
This is all brand new to
This is-
us,
yes,
and
right.
it just happened.
But
Just wondering if it's more spelled out, maybe people that don't know.
We,
it's slow,
we can
no
talk
wait.
offline of what we know so far, because we won't be able to give you facts. And we hate during an actual meeting to give out suppositions and then it changes. But we can give you what we think it might be. We don't have the facts yet. But he's working diligently on it.
Good, thank you.
Yeah,
we'll have it all in place by the end of May.
Awesome.
yeah. Any other new business from the county? No? All right. Then with that, I'd look for a motion
move
to
we adjourn.
adjourn. Motion by Clerk Brooke,
Second.
second by Riparian Greenberg. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? That does pass. Thank you very much.
Thank